Hi, this is Kim. Welcome to Live More Now, where we hope to impact positive changes with one tiny step at a time. Today's video is about the most common interview questions and what I would consider appropriate or excellent responses. Before we get started, I want to cover just a couple quick basics. Some of this you can find in my video called Master the Job Interview, but just a couple quick basics. Arrive 5 to 10 minutes early. Bring copies of your resume with you. Dress appropriately. Those are covered in the other video I just referenced. When you start with answering your interview questions, you want to avoid at all costs talking negatively about previous employers. That adds no value. Try to avoid conversations about your salary requirements too early, preferably not at all in the first interview. I know it's tempting because you want to know if you're barking up the wrong tree or not, but patience, just be patient. I've seen many times in my recruiting experience where employers have absolutely fallen in love with a candidate and end up paying them according to that candidate's salary requirements, even though it might have been 10 or even 20% higher than their original expectations. The most important part of responding to interview questions is using examples. I find the best interview responses are followed up with solid examples that highlight you at your finest moment, using your greatest strengths, and highlighting you at your brightest. So for that reason, it's extremely important that you prepare these examples in advance, again, that you feel really confident about, whether it's you overcoming obstacles to succeed in the end, or you finished a project with a great deal of teamwork and a lot of long hours to finish a project before the deadline or by the deadline. Whatever those examples are for you, you want to have those at the tip of your tongue so that you'll find that these 3 or 4 examples that you come with prepared will answer multiple questions. So you shouldn't be stumbling around trying to recall an example and in turn looking unprepared. So with that, we'll get started with some specific questions. Question number 1. Tell me about yourself. The interviewer does not want to hear at this time about your dog or that you like long walks on the beach. So keep it professional and keep it concise. You don't want to ramble on aimlessly. You want to keep your response applicable to the position for which you're applying. For example, if you have a lot of sales experience, but you also have a lot of administrative skills, and the job you're applying for is administrative, you don't need to spend a lot of time highlighting your sales abilities because that doesn't apply here. So stick with skills that relate to this position. The way I would answer that question is, as you can see from my resume, I graduated from college in 1992, and from there I've developed over 20 years of experience in human resources and human resource sales, specifically in the recruiting segment. I would consider myself a loyal and dedicated employee. As you can see, I was with my previous employer for more than 10 years. By the way, for those of you watching this video, that's all true about me. I would finish that question with, are there any areas on my resume that you would like me to address more specifically? Question number 2. Why do you want to work for this company, or why do you want this position? They're both very similar questions. They might ask you one or the other, or possibly both. So companies want to hire people that feel passionately about the company and the work that will be involved in this position. This is also going to be their opportunity to figure out how much research you've already done on the company. So with that, it's important to know that you need to do as much research on that company as possible. I talk about this in more detail in my video, Master the Job Interview, but briefly, visiting their website, studying their website, social networking sites, whatever information you can glean from the internet or anywhere else for that matter, do so. You're going to want to try to find a way to personally connect with the company's goals and mission, again, based on the research that you've done. By the way, if you don't feel passionately about the work involved in this position or about the company's goals or missions, then this is you probably shouldn't be interviewing for this job and pursue another opportunity. So for example, you could say something like, I would really like to work for a company as innovative as yours, or a company that provides such an important service as yours, or again, whatever connects you personally. Let's say, for example, because I'd be working with customers and helping them meet their needs, and I really feel my background and skills would be a good match for this position and the organization. Question number 3, what is your greatest strength? This is definitely your opportunity to shine. The interviewer is going to want to hear a response that will directly relate to this position. So for example, if this is a management position, you might want to talk about what a great motivator you are. Again, this is extreme. This is a time where you are definitely going to need examples to back up whatever response, whatever your greatest strength is. And you can say multiple strengths. Maybe you're a great team player, you're a good motivator, and you meet or exceed customers' expectations. Again, just be certain that you have strong examples to support whatever strengths you provide. Question number 4, what is your greatest weakness? This is a dreadful question, and I almost don't even like asking the question. It's almost a setup for failure with no correct response. As an interviewer, what I'm typically looking for is how you respond versus the content. In other words, do you have a clear answer on the ready? Something that shows me that you've thought about it in advance. Somebody who is hemming and hawing, I don't know, tells me that you have not given it any thought and are ill-prepared. So with that, there's a couple routes that you can take. You can talk about how one of your greatest strengths is also can at times be a weakness. For example, if you are a very organized person, maybe you claimed one of your strengths was organization. Maybe you have an issue with when your desk gets cluttered. In truth, maybe you're terribly anal, but you're not going to want to talk about that. But you can, just explain that sometimes if it gets too disorganized, I have a hard time with that. The bottom line, whatever you say, is you want to show the interviewer that you've thought about your weakness, you've addressed it, you've taken steps to resolve it. Something that shows us that you are self-aware and proactive in addressing your weaknesses. Question number 5, why do you want to leave, or why did you leave your current company? You definitely want to keep your response positive. You may not know if your interviewer might be familiar with your former employer, either through a customer or a vendor relationship, or an affiliation through an organization. Not to mention, bad-mouthing previous employers is simply immature and it looks unprofessional. So you might answer that question with, I'm looking for new challenges. After X amount of years with the ABC company, I feel like I've learned a lot, but at this time I'm looking to develop my career. If you were fired, you don't want to lie, so be truthful, but again, you need to keep it positive and you need to leave out the emotions. So any drama that was associated with you being let go needs to be completely removed from your response. Nobody wants to hear about how you didn't like the owner's daughter, or you didn't like your manager, or whatever the reasons were. Leave that out of it and end it with at the end, it was decided that it would be mutually beneficial if we parted ways. The end. The next few questions I'm going to kind of clump together because your responses to these questions will revolve entirely around the examples that you've already prepared. So question number 6, How do you handle stressful situations? Recite an example that shows that you handle them very well. Question 7. Do you prefer to work in a team environment or independently? You will want to cite examples that show that you excel in both scenarios. Number 8. What would you consider to be your greatest disappointment or your greatest achievement thus far in your career? Either way, you're going to want to keep your response very positive. Your achievement's going to be a lot easier to answer than your greatest disappointment. When addressing a disappointment, try to keep it to something that was out of your control. Again, keeping it positive. For example, in my career, one time we lost an account because that company wanted to work with primarily minority-owned businesses, and we were not a minority-owned business. Question number 9. Why should we hire you? Your response here can be assertive. Don't be afraid to say something like, because I feel I'm the best candidate for this position. Try to come up with something unique about yourself, possibly a unique combination of skills. For example, my technical skills combined with my drive to exceed customers' expectations make me an excellent match for this position. Question number 10, the salary discussion. Just remember, curiosity killed the cat. You'll be tempted to blurt out a number or ask them for their number, but really try to frame your response more toward the entire package. So a response such as, salary is very important, but the workplace environment, the benefits package, along with the salary will all weigh heavily in my decision. If they press you for a number, obviously you're going to want to give them a realistic number, but stress the fact that you are flexible. You don't want to miss out on an opportunity over a few $1,000s. Employers typically won't slam the door on the perfect candidate over a few $1,000s anyway. And you can end that response with a follow-up question, something like, in what range would you typically offer someone with my experience? And maybe they'll shed some light on where they are at. That's the top 10 most common interview questions typically asked. In closing, I'd like to remind everybody that your interviewer is a person just like you. So try to stay relaxed and remain confident, and try to view it more as a conversation versus an interrogation. So thanks everybody for taking a look at my video and visiting my YouTube channel, Live More Now. Please take a look at my other videos that are related to this topic. Thanks again. Good luck.